Hi, my name is Kezia Omoye Owusankuma, a gallery associate, an art practitioner, a social media marketer, and a PhD candidate at the Department of Painting and Sculpture, KNUST. I've been in the art and media industry for 12 years, and I developed interest in digital marketing. The Ready for Work platform provided an opportunity for me to develop new and advanced skill sets. I learned to believe in myself, and I learned how to use design thinking to drive innovation. I developed essential social media marketing skills to drive sales, enhance audience engagement, and build a community around a brand. Ready for Work has helped me develop confidence in my job search and has given me a lot of job opportunities. If you are looking for a job, you want to develop a new set of skills, you want to complement your degree, I recommend Ready for Work Digital Career Accelerator.
Hello, stars from all nations. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so excited to be coming your way for our live event again today, Monday, 9th December 2024. It's an exciting day because we have really wonderful people with us today. As you know, we are at this first installment of Ready for Work webinar. It's a series of webinar programming that we put together to guide you in the upcoming year 2025, and we're talking about how to get ahead, whether you are in Ghana, how to get ahead in Ghana. If you're not in Ghana, how to get ahead where you are as a career professional. The new year brings distinct and unique challenges for every career professional, but how do you turn these challenges into career opportunities and grow your career? And that's what we'll be discussing today. I'm really excited about it because we have two wonderful people, two wonderful professionals with us. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but as a blurb to their profile, if you go to s1online.org/readyforwork-webinar, if you haven't been to that landing page, you will see a blurb of their profile there, but they will tell you a bit more about themselves. I have Madame Georgina Fiagbenu from MTN. She is the Senior Manager for Corporate Communication, and she is being here for the first time. So I'm really, really excited. I've been wanting to get her on our platform, and I'm thrilled that she's here today. And of course, we are welcoming back Ms. Erin Porche. Erin is a friend of the company. She was with us at Global Student Entrepreneurship Week when I broke the Guinness World Record. Then I was attempting, but I didn't break it. And we set a new record actually. Erin is an amazing person and she has a wealth of experience in different dimensions. And of course, as I mentioned in my post today, she's a newly minted Ghanaian citizen. So I'll be asking her more questions about that. But let's start with Madam Georgina. Please kindly introduce yourself further to the audience and we'll start rolling from there. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Tom, for giving me this opportunity. Like you said, we've been in touch for ages, and this is the first time I'm here live on this show. So thank you. I'm Georgina Fiagbenu. I'm a communications strategist. I'm head of corporate communications for MTN, and I believe that communications can solve everything on this earth because I mean, from the get go, for those of us who are Christians, when God created the world, the first thing He said was, let us do this, which is communication.
Yeah.
So, I believe in the power of communications to transform nations, societies, people, which is what you are also trying to do. And so I use communications to drive development, communications, and discussions. And so I'm the convener of the timekeeping dialogue, having seen that timekeeping is a big African challenge. So having conversations that will get us to prioritize timekeeping in everything we do. And lately, I'm also doing Africa Communicating Africa. So Africans who are communicating Africa, how do we do it? How do we position ourselves to attract the right investments and support?
That's wonderful. So my first question will be, what have you seen, in those areas? Let's start with Africa, communicating Africa. What have you seen? Because historically, we all know the image that we see in the media is some skewed images of hunger, poverty, and the rest of it. What have you seen that really drives you to, be part of that agency to change the narrative, so to say?
Yeah, so what I've seen, and I'm doing this with one of my colleague communications person. He's also Nikome. He has done international relations. He's also a playwright, so he's also getting us to have conversations using storytelling and drama and all that. And our observations are that, of course, we all know that Africa has a huge potential, not just natural resources, but also the human resources. And how we communicate African issues is very important because then it gets us one to be able to position ourselves well. And so for even young people, we see a lot of our youth going, traveling outside the country for opportunities. How do they position Africa in their everyday communications, even in their classes? Because that changed the mindset about Africa. So, like you rightly said, people have all these notions about Africa and where we are living and what we are doing. And wherever we are, we have an opportunity to position Africa better,
Right.
because it informs the decision for someone to come and be educated here. We have international students who are coming here to learn about our culture and to learn about other things. And the issue of intercultural communication is very important. We have this notion that, we are all one people. Apart from even the racial issues, within Africa, we are all different people.
Mhm.
And you may say to a Ghanaian, may not say to another African
Right.
in South Africa, someone coming from Uganda or Nigeria and all that. So we have to be very mindful of our communications because it can make or unmake you. Someone will just form an impression about you because of the way you communicated with the person, the choice of words, and all that. So, and when you go into business and politics, it's a big issue. International relations, yes, cross-cultural communications will come in, but also most importantly for the African businesses, how do we communicate what you do,
Right.
what you stand for,
Right.
what your mission is, what your vision is, the human resource you have, the strategies you have, and how you can attract more customers and investors.
That's impressive. So let me come to you. My name is like a movie star. Please introduce yourself further to our audience, those that might not have already, been acquainted.
Yes, sure. Thank you again so much for the opportunity to be here again. It's been a joy to be a friend of the organization and all of the great work that you are doing. Um, I am Erin Porche, founder and CEO of Global Works Consulting Group, where we focus on organizational change management, personal and professional development, and also growth and expansion, ensuring that companies have the financial backing that is needed to support their growth and expansion across the globe. So we facilitate support um, from international relations to trade, as well as procurement with contracts with the federal government, state government, and also grant administration.
That's impressive. What made you to choose Ghana as your domicile now?
Ah, when I decided to visit Ghana after connecting with so many people online, having great conversation, and our dialogue, we were able to have exchanges that just deeply resonated with who I am,
Right.
what I love. And that really piqued my interest because I was like, wow, people in Ghana are dope, right? And this was just a virtual experience
Right. What
on,
was that?
it was on a platform called Clubhouse.
All right, I remember Clubhouse.
Yes, Clubhouse. I connected with so many people across across the world, but particularly in Africa and in Ghana.
Right.
So having conversations about just our personal life, the changes that we were facing with being indoors, as well as
Yeah, I guess
business.
that was during the pandemic.
During the
COVID.
pandemic,
Yeah.
yes, that's when I connected most with Ghanaians.
Right.
And I was like, wow, I always wanted to retire and do philanthropic work on the continent. I thought I would go to Nigeria first, actually.
Okay.
But connected with Ghanaians and decided to travel for my 40th birthday.
Mhm.
I came here and I felt like I was at home.
Right.
I was welcomed with so much love, so much support, and it just felt like family.
Right.
And instead of waiting till I retired, I was like, okay, let me see what comes about if I spend more time here.
Right.
And here I am 2 years later at home.
Right.
So,
That's really impressive. Was
yeah.
that your first contact with Africa?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it
What
was.
was your initial impression of Africa those period?
You mean prior to
Yeah.
coming to
Right.
Africa?
Right.
So this might sound cliche, but I will tell you, watching Coming to America,
Right.
in that movie, you would see the industrial vehicles that were Mercedes.
Mm.
I'm a Mercedes girl. I love Mercedes vehicles. I said, there's money in Africa.
Mm.
This is a royal, rich, wealthy environment. And for me, it resonated with the word of God
Right.
as to who God says we are.
Mm.
We are of a royalhood, right? And I know that our Father is rich in houses and land. And when I thought about Africa, that was my perspective and perception, right? And I always said I would retire and do philanthropic work in
Right.
Africa. But what country? I didn't know.
Right.
Ghana won my heart first
And here you are
encounter.
doing what you've always wanted to do.
Exactly.
That's really impressive. So that brings me to my first question. Over the past 10 years, there's been so many changes, both globally and locally.
Mhm.
So now, as a young professional, our target is usually entry level career talents.
Mhm.
Now, watching all this, reading the news, and seeing what's happening, how do I align my personal goal to these evolving dynamics? So I'll come back to you, madam.
So, how to align our personal goals? Let me start by saying that for people who are getting ready to work or have just started working, the issue about how you present yourself, your personal brand,
Yeah.
I would say is something that is very important. And so, one, how you package yourself, how you communicate, how you you interact with people goes into who you are.
Absolutely.
And so and I'm happy that is it Porche?
Yes.
And your friend's name is
Erin.
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 Yes.
Okay. So as Erin said, she enjoyed the conversations she
Yeah.
had, and look at her here today. And so in the interaction she had at on the Clubhouse channel,
Yes.
if it was negative,
Yeah.
she had not met them yet, but
Yes.
it was out of the conversations, how engaging they were. And I'm sure that the conversations were very positive. The people had something positive to say. They carried themselves well. Their mindset was right, and that got her to probably research more about Ghana and how she can get to settle. And for me, for any young person, how you carry yourself is very important. Brand, who you are, one, and that starts with your mindset.
Right.
How you position your mind. So as we go into 2025, what am I going to 2025 with? What do I want to achieve? Who am I? Because who you are determines how you position yourself.
Right.
If you know you're a young student, you're a young worker, you are entry level, you are middle level, and you know where you want to get to, it determines how you position yourself,
Yeah.
what conversations you have, how you even dress and present yourself, the kind of information you put out. And it's not just oral, it's also digital.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, for us who work in the telecommunications industry, of course it will be a joy to see everybody having conversations, but I will always tell people that your conversations on social media must be purposeful and meaningful.
There you go.
Okay, I mean, you don't just get into a political conversation for the fun of it and present yourself anyhow. It must be a conscious approach to present yourself in a positive light. So after elections, if people are going to be employing, are you the kind of person they would like to work with? They will go back and check what kind of communications you were putting out there, the kind of pictures you were posting, the kind of things you were even sharing. I take interest in that.
Right.
And so I would say one of the most important things that we need to look at going to 2025 and beyond is your personal brand, who you are, how you position yourself, how you present yourself. And that includes the entire package, including your communication.
Yeah. That brings another question that I always, of course, I'm sure you would have discussed it with, some of your constituencies, colleagues and mentees. But the topic of personal brand is quite interesting because for some early career professionals, it seems to be on the surface. So what exactly is personal brand? From your POV, what do you teach as personal brand, and what has worked for you in developing your own brand?
Yeah. So, I mean, what has worked for me, and I think it works for a lot of people. Like I said, the first thing is to determine who you are. And I always tell people, for us in communications, corporate communications, and that's always our starting point, even for companies. And so if I'm developing a communication strategy for MTN, whichever company or brand or even a product, it goes back to who you are.
Right.
So if it's a product, what kind of product is it? Who are you selling it to?
Right.
Who are your targets? Who are the people who are interested or are potentially interested in? What are you offering them? How unique is the product? And so when I look at myself, who am I? It's not just your name and the school you attended.
Yeah.
It goes back to, like you are saying, what kind of, it's not just the surface of it. It's in your mind who you are. And who you are also determines the things you do, the things you say about yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you are not confident in yourself, so confidence is very important. Believing in yourself, being confident about who you are, and that also is impacted by what you've done.
Yes.
The things that you've acquired, the knowledge, the skills, helps you position yourself better. Okay, so one of the things I tell my mentees, for example, is that you have to read. to be able to educate yourself.
Yeah.
Going to school is not enough.
Right.
So you can't just say that, oh, my name is, I'm Gina, I have a degree. Yes, you have a degree, and so does 1 million people.
Yeah.
All of them have degrees, but how distinct are you? And that is where the skills come in, because
Yeah.
the skills is what will distinguish you from other people.
Right.
And that's something that cannot be seen on the surface.
Absolutely.
The surface is very important, but when I sit down to have a conversation with you, I will know who you are, with the things you say, the kind of values, even the values you
Yeah.
have determines the kind of personal brand you have,
Yeah.
because your values will drive you to the right places, to the right connections.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see that even in politics, and we just had our elections.
Mhm.
Our values came to play.
Absolutely, yes.
Our values, so you are looking at, I think this is one of the elections that people were critically looking at. What is this person bringing?
Right.
How are they going to change my life?
Yeah.
Did they do what they said they would do? And do we trust? It's about trust. So personal branding also goes to people trusting who you are. But it begins with you trusting yourself first.
Right.
Okay, so
So-
you must believe in yourself, and
Yeah.
people must believe in you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. The problem that we have, those who are going into the workforce or just entering the workforce is there is a misunderstanding of what personal branding is. Some people think it's me being on social media and telling everyone that I'm the best of what I do.
Mm.
But then for an employer, you want to ensure that the person is not just about talk. They also have credible track record, and you were spot on in that direction. Who you are is also about what you've done, and that informs your confidence, and of course it ties into your values. So for those who are watching this and making lists, I think this will give you a good picture of how to develop your personal brand. And as Madame Georgina is saying, it's one of the most critical elements that will guide you in your workforce development or skills development for the workforce readiness program that you are trying to pursue. Now, the personal development strategies, of course, are changing. We are talking about AI and how it's really revolutionizing a lot of different industries. I should say every industry.
Yeah.
I was reading some documents a while ago, and the projection is that most business models are going to become obsolete in the next year and beyond. So for someone who is looking into 2025, 2027, 2030 and planning their careers and wondering, is my skill going to still be relevant? What am I going to be doing in this new year if AI takes my job? So first, is it possible that AI can make people redundant? That's number one question. And then the second question is, how do I think about my personal development? Erin.
Yes. So when I think about AI, I see it as a tool
Right.
and an opportunity to do things faster, better, right? I believe that utilizing AI as a tool with our voice, it it gets you the goal. And I don't believe that will become obsolete because we created and designed the
Right.
AI, right? And without our support, our motivation, our just our touch, it will grow old, right? So I really believe that because we are the engineers of the AI, we leverage and utilize the AI accordingly in our careers and in our business, even in education, right? It gives us access to information that we, probably would have to go to the library to get and sift through encyclopedias, etc., and so on. But it also gives you ideas, strategy, and approaches that you can take and apply. Now, I love what she spoke about when she talked about our self awareness, understanding our own identity, knowing who we are.
and operating in purpose and passion. Because when we know who we are, our beliefs are solid,
Yeah.
our values are solid, and we stand on those. And we choose our career based on our purpose and our passions and those things that resonate with us, right? So in that vein, our communication articulates those things that we believe in, those things that we stand for, and where we want to apply ourselves. I believe with change is an opportunity for growth, right? And having a growth mindset,
Yeah.
being flexible when it comes to change in our life, change in our leadership, change in our work, change when it comes to the technology and how we utilize and leverage it. It opens doors for more
Opportunity and more expansion.
Yeah.
So I don't see the AI replacing us. I see it enhancing our capacity and capability because I have friends and associates that call me AI before AI exists.
That's impressive.
And it's just because of how I fuse and sift through information and can give it back. Right? Like I know my skill, attention to detail.
Right.
You understand? So when we know ourselves, we know our skills and our abilities, we're able to leverage those and apply ourselves effectively in our career.
Yeah.
And also it sets us apart,
Absolutely.
right? And it makes us in demand,
Yeah.
and the employers want to retain us.
Yeah.
And also, we are always evolving
Right.
with time. We should be always growing at some point, right? So continuous education. You get the degrees, but after that, what's next? Continuing to get certifications and grow and expand our knowledge. I think it's vitally important for the day and the age that we're in. We're in the information age, and technology will continue to advance. Our leaders will continue to be radical and more vocal. We'll start to hear things that we've never heard before, right? And it's the conversations that have been taking place. It's just been behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Now people are now more vocal. And are we postured and ready to receive and hear those things? We have a moment of shock, but accepting and acknowledging the realities of who we are supporting, who our leaderships is, or what have you, knowing the different characteristics of individuals.
I studied business administration and psychology and early childhood education. And for me, that combination really helped me to understand
So
people.
for early career professionals, first of all, one of the things that I took note of when you were talking, I have 5 points from where I want to ask you questions on.
Okay.
But you know, in say 1960, 1950, and all the way to the timeline of the early 2000s, information was, so to say, out there. Then you go for it.
Yes.
Now today we live in the midst of information.
Hmm.
The world has become, so to say, immersive. We are inside the information.
Yeah.
And this information, sometimes overload, becomes a problem for young people that haven't formed a sense of self and a sense of identity.
Hmm.
Now, the question becomes, who am I really?
Yeah.
How do I know myself?
Mm.
And because I have these several passions and interests, where do I direct my attention? That's number one. Number two is, I'm glad you mentioned growth mindset, because growth mindset is one of the skills that we would, need going into the future. Um, Life is not fixed. Failure is not final. It's an ongoing evolution of your journey and your career aspirations. So how you evolve with time, how you approach the experiences that you go through, determines, the outcome that you get from life.
Hmm.
Now, I want to learn, but you've already told me that we don't have to go to the library to learn. So, what is the point of learning? If anything I want, I can access it by asking AI. So, shouldn't I, offset my learning responsibilities and subscribe to AI and be good with myself?
No,
So,
you can't. I mean, it's insufficient, right? When you think about application, right? You now have access to the information, but what do you do with it? You mentioned information overload. I myself have experienced information overload when you think about the time that we spend online, right? Consuming, receiving. But at some point, we must release, we must process, right? And also apply that information, probably not in that order. But, when you consume the information, you process that information.
yeah,
And once you process that information, then what do you do with it, right? You apply it in some form or fashion, whether you're talking about it, you're writing about it, you're performing a new task, or whatever that may be with that information. So, getting the information, having access is one thing, but what do you do with it? And I believe if experience is all you have, experience is all you need, right? And what I live by that, and that's actually been my life story. I have had so many experiences that grew me, right? They made me reflect and look within and assess and decide what I really wanted for my life, in my career.
yeah,
The things that I studied, I was able to take that information, just like when you go to university or college. You learn what you like, you learn what you don't like, right? And you decide how you will apply that to your life, to your profession, to your
Did
career,
you
and
did
your.
you do a self evaluation? Maybe you took an assessment. You spoke to a counselor. How did you get that sense of self to know where you channel your energy and focus?
Okay, so I'll say one source was the Bible,
Right.
learning the Word of God, and those words of God that resonated with my life, applying it to my life. Um, Next to that, and I want to say after, or maybe during college, or doing some leadership training and development, I did assessments like the Myers Briggs assessment,
Right.
learning and understanding the different characteristics. When you think about self awareness, learning about critical thinking, and the results of those assessments, it gave me information, and it also gave me language that I may have thought about, but I didn't clearly have an understanding
Yeah.
of, right? But when it gave me the language, I was like, wow, that's me. That makes sense,
Absolutely.
right? I can be very analytical in this environment,
Yeah.
or I'm analytical when, I'm in the workplace, and I could be reserved, or I could be an introvert or an extrovert in different environments. So it gave me the language to understand who I am, what I'm made up
Yeah.
of, and how I can interact and engage with other people. But it also gave me a viewpoint of other people, right? When we think about in work, we must work in teams. How do we choose to build relationship and bring value, do our work, and also share the work and perform in the workplace? So I think those different assessments are phenomenal because it gives you information and it gives you language about yourself, but also other people around you.
I love that. You use the word opening doors. But before I go to that, the word for the month, for the year rather. I think it was Oxford University.
Okay.
Every year they usually do this word of the year and things like that.
Okay.
And so this year they have their word for the year as brain rot.
Brain
What,
rot.
what's
Yeah.
that?
Wow.
So they
I see
say,
the word of the day that's it's shared every day, but
right,
word of the year
word of the
is
year
I haven't.
is by Oxford University Press. So they have this word as brain rot, meaning a lot of people go to social media, the forever online
Mm-hmm.
generation, my generation and the next generation after me,
Mm,
and we learn a bunch of things that don't make any sense.
uh,
And then we think we are learning, but actually, people's brain is getting dumber and dumber
It's
as we
not
go.
making it richer.
yeah.
And this is one of the problems. People learn, but they are not learning with intention, like
Mm-hmm.
you were saying, and it makes it difficult to open doors.
Mm-hmm.
So for young people who are planning their careers, because obviously communication is fundamental, as you've taught us,
Yes.
and communication is both ways. You communicate to yourself, you communicate to external
Mm-hmm.
stakeholders, and
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have essence to communicate with, then it's just about rubbish, so to say. So
True.
what do you advise those who are thinking about personal development and career planning in that direction? What do you tell them, madam?
So it's a mix of all the things we've been talking about. And one of the things I wanted to highlight when she spoke about processing, as part of all the things she said, was connecting it to the environment in which you are, the operating, which I would call the operating environment. And
Yeah.
so when you go on social media, you see all sorts of things from all cultures, from all places. So you are here, you are browsing about things in Ghana, things in other regions, from other countries, and all that. But how do you also fit it into
The
your
context.
own context
Mm-hmm.
and where you want to go?
Yes.
So it's your now, your present, and your future. That's how I look at it. What you've done in the past is, you've acquired your skills, your education, your values, and all that. And like we've all said, and I think, is it Erin
Yes.
has highlighted it, the growth mindset. You are always growing, and you have an operating environment.
That's good.
So I always tell young people, this is where you are.
That's
You may
good.
have the vision to go to the US or to go to Germany. All of us are looking for better prospects. But it's where you are now, it's also part of your story. And that
Yes.
is what is preparing you into that envisioned future, which
Mm-hmm.
is the better future you are looking for. But I always tell them, for now, this is where you are. And so you are on social media, you are in school, you have your friends and all that. You've got to process the information you are getting,
Right.
what you are reading yourself. And that is why for all my mentees, I always insist that they read.
Right.
And I give them recommended books. I give them assignments. I even have a mentoring platform where I've put all my mentees and a few other people that I think they can learn from. And we do projects. Okay, not difficult projects that will require money. It can just be reading projects, just giving them a book, giving them a link, referring them to a YouTube channel. It can be 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and we come back and we look at what does this teaches us. What are we learning from here? So if you want to be good communicators, you want to be good professionals, you want to be very good public speakers.
Yeah.
We look at examples of people who are doing public speaking,
Mm-hmm.
interviews, articles, and we read, and I ask them to summarize.
Yeah.
And sometimes we practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so processing for me is very important because you
Yes.
always have to reflect on what you are learning. So this brain rot, I mean, we all get tired. Sometimes I think over the past few days, we've all been browsing and watching and
Mm-hmm.
reading and laughing and looking at videos. But then to what end? And I, for example, I always have a notebook. I have a notebook by my bedside. I have a notebook in my car. I always have a notebook in my bag. Of course, your phone is your notebook, and I'm
Yeah.
always making notes
Yeah.
of things I've seen. Someone does something that is very commendable. I'm noting it. I've seen an idea somewhere. I'm noting it. So all this impacts your mindset.
Yeah.
It impacts your growth. It teaches you the things that you can do. It helps you identify your weaknesses because
Right.
when you see things that people are doing, when you read, it tells you, it makes you reflect. What do I need to do better?
Yeah.
And all of us have to do better, no matter who you are. You have to get better at whatever you are doing. Even if you are the CEO of the largest company, I work with MTN. MTN is about the largest company in Ghana. Our CEO has a book club. And he says, I'm reading, you also have to read. And he gives us books for the month and puts us in groups for people to read and share. So you can never say that you are reading, you are just consuming from social media. But what is it doing to you? How is it adding to your life? Is it just about the subcultures, about dressing, and looking nice? But you can't look nice and be empty, you know. So I think that for all of us, and I always tell people, it's not just the young people who are learning. I have I have two people, and they are my mentors. One, Nana Jana Painting, he used to be the former National Media Commission. That man is 73. He's one of the most technology savvy people I've seen. He's posting on social media, he's doing his research, he's doing his presentations, he's doing his content, he's he's doing about everything. And for those who are in Ghana who are a bit older, Joyce Aye, she's like she's 6 or something. Very, very current. You sit with them in a session and they probably know more about technology than you do. Okay, so I tell people there's no end to learning. And there's no excuse as in, oh, I was born before computers, people joke and say, oh, I'm 50, I'm 60. Oh, you are the young. Yes, those who are younger have a bigger challenge because they have to learn. They are the ones who are worried about AI. And like she said, AI is a tool. If you spend all your time thinking about how AI is going to get you out of your job, you'll probably not be getting anything. You have to look at how do I use AI to improve. I'm excited about AI because
What makes you excited?
it gives me an endless opportunity to learn, to read, to scout for ideas. It's like I actually chat with the tools I use and I say, oh, I want a name for this. Can you give me any ideas? Then it gives me. But I always tell people that AI without substance is nothing.
So you are the substance.
You must be the
AI is the
substance,
tool.
and AI is the tool.
Right.
Because if AI gives you 1 million things and you don't have any substance, how do you even sift the information? You don't know what you are looking for. So you end up just giving your boss 1 million things and thinking that he's going to now sift through. No, you are the substance. You should know. And that's why I believe in people who we are better than AI. Okay, AI is faster, it's technology, it's doing a lot of work for you. At the end of the day, you make the decision.
Right.
So you should be better than AI because
I agree with you.
you are going to use what AI is going to give to you. So ultimately, you are the winner.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And the point I want to also emphasize from what you said is AI is the tool and you are the user of the tool. The hammer cannot wield itself except somebody wields the hammer. And of course, that also helps us to connect the dots. You use the word connecting the dots, looking at the present and then plotting for the future. We want to connect the dots. In 2017, I think we had a career fair program with British Council where we brought professionals together, early career professionals, and our keynote speaker was Miss Lucy Quist. And we titled that session "The Robots Are Coming." And now the robots are here.
Now they are here.
They are in the industry. They are competing with us for the works. But one of the thoughts that I will never forget, regardless of how many things I do, from that meeting, was the movie Hidden Figures. I don't know if you've seen it. Yeah, Hidden Figures. And it helps me to connect the dots when I look into the future. The ladies were so good. They were so relevant in the operation. But eventually IBM, computers were being introduced. And they looked into the future. They saw this IBM computer there. The thing was, going to pose a huge threat. Yeah. And they thought, well, we might either, ignore it, what can it do? Or we can rescale and upskill. And that's essentially what they did. They learned computer, they improved themselves, and they became even more productive for the company and the organization they worked with. And I believe that's the advice you are giving to young people as you think about your career and the threats, the actual threats that we know technology is posing to many workers. Now, the next question I have here is interesting, but before I ask that question, you know, let me ask you this because obviously you've done a lot of recruitments. In Ghana, they say the stat that we have from the ISSER, it says 10% of all the university graduates get jobs within 1 year.
Mhm.
Is that accurate representation of what you see in the industry?
I can't really tell, but it's a very good statistical institution. If they say so, then
Right.
it must be right. Yeah.
What do you think is the cause for joblessness or the poor rate of integration from university to industry? The disconnect that you see. What do you think is the reason?
Well, I think there are a number of reasons.
Okay.
One would be the availability of jobs, of course, is
Mhm.
shrinking. The opportunities are quite, well, should I say, not that it's shrinking. Let me rephrase.
Right.
I think there are more qualified people now,
Right.
more educated people. Let me
Right.
rephrase it further.
Okay.
There are more educated people. There are more people who have had formal education.
Right.
As to whether they are skilled for the job market, that's
Right.
also a different thing.
Right.
Okay. So, and then I also feel that the expectations of people to be recruited or to be employed immediately they finish school is also something that we need to watch. I remember that when I finished school, my expectation really was not to get a big job from day one.
Right.
That was not my expectation. My expectation was to learn.
Okay.
That was me. Other people may have different expectations.
Mm.
And so as soon as I finished school, probably even before I finished, I had joined I went to the School of Communication Studies after I finished my first degree, and we had a radio station, the Radio Universe. And I used to go and sit there on their panels, early morning panels, to have a discussion. So by the time I was finishing school, the station master then had requested that, oh, whilst looking for a job, why don't you come and help with our newsroom
Mhm.
and help us, structure our newsroom, do editing and all that. So I started work as a news editor.
Right.
Okay. And
Was
uh,
it paid or
it
was
wasn't
voluntary?
paid work,
Okay.
but I was happy to do it. I just gotten married then, right after school. And I was happy to do it because I didn't want to sit at home doing nothing.
Right.
So my expectation was not to earn immediately. What I wanted to, one, was to be relevant and useful. And so I was happy working at Radio Universe. And there, whilst working there, the first 3 months, that was when I got my first job.
Impressive.
Okay. So because I was working and I was also, so we spoke about teamwork and we spoke about the environment.
Yeah.
How you interact with the environment is really important.
Yeah.
And I always tell people that your relationship is your biggest asset,
Yes.
not your knowledge, not your certificate. It's the
Yeah.
relationships you build that
Exactly.
comes in for you because it becomes your reference point wherever you go. It is your first reference point. Because look, here you are. If you are looking for someone to recruit, your first thing will not be advertised in the newspapers or on social media. The
Mhm.
first thought will be, who do I think can
Mhm.
do this work? Okay. So that's what happened to me. Whilst I was doing the work, one of my uh, classmates had an opportunity. She had an offer to do a certain job, but she came to school. She's on study leave, so she didn't really need a job, and she wanted to go back to where she was working. So she was looking for someone to recommend. And then she remembered, she said, oh, this work, Gina will fit into it.
Yeah.
And she recommended me. Okay, so I went into the interview and the person said, "Can you start? Can you start now?" And what's interesting is I'm just trying to get us to connect the dots. And it will interest you to know that this person that I went to work with was someone I had seen in my industry that I really admired. And I watched the person on TV. Back then, we didn't have social media and all that. This was um early 2000,
Right.
like 2000 actually, 99 into 2000. And this lady, Esther Koba, I always mention her name wherever I go because I mean, when it comes to corporate communications, she's like the leading figure. And so I've seen her on TV when I was making a decision to do my postgraduate program. So I was choosing whether to do an MBA or an MPhil. My lecturers, I did sociology, so they were all pushing me into doing an MPhil to do a PhD. But I wanted something, I don't know, I was just looking for something I couldn't figure out. And so when I was watching TV, I saw this lady, professional, having a discussion like we are doing now,
Right.
talking about communications and public relations. And that was it. As soon as I saw it, I said, no, this is what I want to do.
Right.
It just fitted in with who I am, what I wanted to do, the kind of work I want. And that's why I always talk about your values, your mindset, knowing who you are, because you should know the kind of job that will excite you, the profession that will not, oh, this a chartered accountant, I hear there's money, there. That's how people make decisions. No, you should look at your own values, your skills, your persona. What is it that you like? Creative work.
Yeah.
Is it like you like singing, you like speaking, you like teaching?
Yeah.
Do you like children? It will trigger something, a profession out of it.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with PR there. And guess what? When the person said, "Oh, I have this job for you," so following that conversation, I went looking for where can I do communication.
Yeah.
And then I went to communication school. As soon as I finished, that was when I got the opportunity. And when I went, this was the woman that I saw on TV. And someone would say the rest is
It's
history.
history.
So
Yeah.
we've got to process the things we are. So I wasn't just watching TV because I was just watching. I was paying attention. I was learning. And so when I listened, I didn't just listen. I took down notes and I said, let me go look for this. And the following day, I went to my lecturer and I said, I've changed my mind. I'm not doing an MPhil in sociology. I'm not doing MBA. And then I went into communications. So
That's amazing. That's a wonderful career trajectory that you've had. Speaking of learning, for all of you that are watching and your friends, please tell them, please know, we have opened the application for Ready for Work Digital Career Acceleration Program. We've opened the application, and from today, you can apply to cohort 6 of Ready for Work. Now, what is Ready for Work? Ready for Work is an immersive digital career acceleration program that helps early career professionals and entry-level job seekers first understand how they stack up against their competition and give them tools to upskill and become of higher value when looking for gainful and meaningful work, or wanting to turn their life into a business. So if you are looking for such opportunity, you should be looking for such opportunity. Go to Ready for Work, readyforwork.africa, and you will see the courses and programs that are open. We have partnership with exciting organizations, including the global payment giant Visa. They've given us content that they've created, proprietary content that they've created that we can use to teach you. And so I invite you to go to the platform and apply right away. Application will close on 16th of January. So apply right away. Now, bringing it back home, we have a few minutes left, but I wanted to know your impression of Ghana's CPM. You were an American, and more recently, you were honored to become a Ghanaian. How did that happen?
I'm really interested in that.
Yeah.
It's like I found my way home.
Right.
And, for me, I have always been seen as someone that was different. And I learned that I was just always ahead of my time. So I was speaking about things that people hadn't necessarily seen or experienced yet. And I think that's just a gift from God, right? But when I came here to Ghana, everything that I had been seeking, everything that I believed in, especially when it came to the health and wellness, I connected with. I went to a place called Gut Care, and I was, in transition, relocating. And when I always believe in regeneration, right? And I went to Gut Care, and everything that I was looking for when it came to just getting back in alignment and being physically fit,
Right.
Gut Care offered it.
Mm.
And
That's
it was
impressive.
all
That's a great
natural.
marketing ad for them.
It was all natural. Well, that was one of the anchoring
Right,
keys,
right.
that let me know I
Right,
had
you're at the right
connect.
place.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm in the right place. And also, I came with my 4-year-old son
Right.
for my 40th birthday. And we were able to enjoy every minute we spent here in Ghana. He met so many aunties along the way. I could take him into any place I went to. It was all family oriented.
Right.
And he loved it. So I was like, he had never attended school. I was like, this is a great place to raise a young Black boy.
Right.
And I could do it with peace as a single mom.
Yeah.
And those factors for me was the deciding points. And I was like, buddy, we can do this. Let's figure this out.
Right.
I mean, the culture here, the beliefs, the values, the way of life, it just all resonated with what I've been longing for.
Right.
And just hadn't completely identified with or connected with in any place else. And I've traveled over the course of my life to many states, worked with so many different people, all walks of life. It was only until I got to Ghana where I walked barefoot. And I walked barefoot in my own home. I never walked barefoot. So that lack of, and I didn't realize that I just wasn't grounded, but I found grounding here, right? I've been home.
Right.
And there's no denying it.
Eventually, we started to explore how to become a Ghanaian citizen. So, for maybe an entry-level job seeker in the States who is still looking for connection or looking for identity and wants to, come to Africa and become a national, how does that work?
Yes, so I believe coming to visit, coming to have your own experience. I mean, we all are seeking something. We all are here to solve some problem. We all have purpose. And I believe people come or travel for different reasons, right? And coming to Ghana, I believe whatever that is you're seeking, you'll connect with and resonate with. That process, that path, I think connecting with someone who lives here, someone who has, experienced that transition.
So I know you have a hard stop at 1:30 or 1:30.
Yes.
So in the checklist, what does the process look like? First, make contact with
The Office of the Diaspora.
Right.
I think the Office of Diaspora is doing a great job facilitating, helping people make that transition from identifying places to stay to identifying business opportunities and also becoming a citizen if that's your desire, a dual citizen.
Right.
So the point of connection, I would say, is the Office of the Diaspora.
That is now a Filipino and American as well.
Yes.
Okay, great. So in a few minutes, we'll look at the trends to look out for in the next 12 months. So what would you think, Madam? What do you think are some of the trends that young workers can look out for, and how can they strategize to turn any uncertainty into career growth opportunities?
Well, I think one of the things is we talk about agility. I mean, we are in a digital world. That one, everybody knows that you have to be digitally savvy. But one of the things is your agility, your ability to adapt, to work with speed, to be able to learn new things. It's one of the things that everybody, and it's not just for young, entry workers, like I said, everybody has to be agile now,
Yes.
because things are changing
Very
rapidly
fast.
within every space, whether it's within corporate communications, reputation management, human resource, trade, business. You have to be agile because things are changing. Your tools are changing. The
Yes.
tools for research, tools for engagements, stakeholder management tactics, everything is changing. There was a new government 3 days ago. Now we have a new government coming in 3 weeks' time. Will your business survive? Will you get the jobs you are looking for? So things are changing by the second, and the ability to adapt to these changes, to work with speed, to be versatile, to learn new things is very important. Of course, being able to use different tools, including AI. AI, you can't take it for
Non-negotiable.
granted.
Yeah.
It's non-negotiable. You have to be able to use it for different things. I use it for different things. One of the key things I use it for is for editing,
Right.
because I do a lot of reviews
Yeah.
and all that. So I use different editing software because they all have their strengths and weaknesses
Yeah.
and all that. Of course, if you're a blogger, you're a writer, content generation, I think that content generation, I don't see it as something that only bloggers should do.
Right.
I believe that everybody should be able to generate content to promote what they are doing to support their businesses.
Yeah.
And so for you, you are doing content generation. You have to generate content for this
Absolutely.
program and you do it afterwards. So I think that everybody should be able to generate content now.
Right.
These are some of the trends that comes to mind easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, very soon we are launching a course, AI Essentials. So if you want to learn different areas of how to use AI to improve your work, I should say apply to Ready for Work, and you will get expert instruction in various forms of AI functionality and usage. So this is where we are wrapping up for today. I would draw it to you for closing comments.
Okay. Sure. So I have one more just point to connect the dots,
Yeah.
and that is staying relevant and leveraging our access to information. When there is change, there's new leaders, they have priorities,
Mm.
right? Understanding what their priorities are, accepting them where they align and resonate with our values, and positioning ourselves to plug in and operate from a place of purpose,
Yeah.
I believe is where we can control that,
Right.
right, as individuals. So, on the path of our careers, we are
Always be growing. And I love how when she spoke about agility, right? Being flexible and adapting, because of that path of growth, things will always change.
Yeah.
It's a matter of how we respond
To the
to the
changes, right?
change.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm judging. Closing comments to young professionals.
Well, I think that young professionals, yes, we have to learn.
Yeah.
And one of the ways of learning is reading, regardless of social media, digital communications. I think that reading is something you can never, you know,
Do away with.
do away with. You can
yeah,
never get enough of it.
Yeah.
And you can watch all your YouTube and everything, but you have to learn to read. And I see that reading is becoming extinct, but people are also reading. I mean, people read, and it can just be a paragraph, but read useful content. Don't end up reading about unnecessary things. So you've got to find your favorite writers, authors, columnists. It
hmm
can even be bloggers, but you know when someone is deep, because
hmm
even when you read, it gives you ideas about where the world is going, how your content should be managed and how to get the right attention. So yeah,
Are there
reading
books
for
that you
me
would
is
recommend?
Oh, there are a lot of books, but there's one book that I found. Maybe let's say two that I always recommend for a start. There's one, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. It's the entry book for everyone that I get in
Yes.
contact with.
Yes.
I think that it's something that you can. It's difficult to read because it's a bit heavy, but it gives you a very solid foundation.
Mhm.
And even if you can't get the copy, the ebook, the summary, whatever you find, just read it.
Yeah.
And then the other book I'll recommend, which is also not current but very useful, is How to Influence People, How to Make Friends and Influence People.
Okay.
That's also a very good book. It helps you know how to deal with people, how to get your way around people, stakeholder engagement. I mean, everything is about people and influence. So,
Mm.
how to win friends and influence people. These two books I'll always recommend.
Mm. I want
Wonderful.
to add a book. You started off talking about time management,
Yes.
and how we manage and utilize our time is key. There is a book called Eat That Frog.
Eat that frog. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I've
think
read it.
that's a great
Yeah.
book for everyone to read.
Very
Yeah.
impressive. Okay, thank you so very much to every one of you that are following us. Thank you for your attention. This is our first installment of what is going to become a series of programming to guide you to help you navigate your career in the new year. This first installment was directed to early career professionals. Next week, Monday, from here, 12:30 p.m., we'll be hosting the second installment for business owners. How do you channel your business to capture all the values that you can in the new year? That's what we'll be discussing. So tune in again next week. Go to s1online.org slash ready for work dash webinar, and you will see all the information you need to join that meeting. But if you go to the webpage of Ready for Work, you will also see it. However, I want you to know application has started for Ready for Work cohort 6. I'm so excited about it because after the fifth cohort, we wanted to use all the data we gathered from that cohort to engineer our platform and integrate the feedback and the responses that we received from our young leaders. So we've done it now. We think we have something that is exceptionally different from what it used to be. So apply if you are looking to upskill. If you're a company, you are looking to recruit early career professionals. You don't want to do the best of knowledge of resume because we already know resumes are no longer reliable as an instrument for matching talent to roles or opening. So if you are recruiting, you want to make accurate skills-based recruitment decisions. Ready for Work is your one-stop shop for that. If you want to bring your training program, we are calling also content owners, subject matter experts who want to do more with their talent or knowledge or resources. Bring it to Ready for Work. Contact us for details on how you can be part of Ready for Work. Finally, donations and scholarship opportunities are open if you want to contribute. This is how to make meaningful impact, in the right direction of solving youth unemployment in Ghana or Africa. If you want to donate to help young people access all these wonderful benefits of Ready for Work, the QR code is on the screen. You can scan it or you can contact us. You will get more details of how to provide scholarship to young people. And we want to thank those that have donated already. Um, Please spread the information with your network. This is how to make impactful giving. If you're a corporate organization, you want to scale your CSR program. Ready for Work is one targeted and impactful approach to get measurable return for your investment. So we appreciate all of you for tuning in today. Check the website s1online.org for the recap of this meeting, or go to our YouTube channel S1 Online to get this recap. Next meeting will be more fabulous. We'll always seek to improve as we've learned today. We are increasingly learning. And on that note, I really want to thank both of you, Madam Georgina Fiagbenu and Miss Erin Porche. Porche, you say Porche.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with us. You're all busy people. Well, we thank you so much for the insights that you've shared and the time that you spent here. It's been an impactful 1 hour of learning and inspiration. So I hope everyone took the notes that I took myself. I learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Cheers, guys. Follow us. Join in spreading the word and apply it to the next cohort and share the message with your friends too. Thank you for joining. Bye.
Bye.